Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something critical, product research. How do we stop guessing what users want?
Exactly. We've got some material here that tackles that head on.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels like the core challenge, doesn't it? Moving past our own ideas to figure out what people actually need.
It really is. So many products, even ones that look great, just sort of
Mm.
miss. This is about understanding why.
Getting beyond assumptions, because we all have them. We get an idea, we get excited.
And maybe we skip the homework, the foundational stuff.
Right. So the big question we're exploring is, how do you gain those real actionable insights? Insights that actually help you build better products.
And avoid building things based on, well, guesswork.
So let's jump into why this matters so much. The material we're looking at makes a pretty bold claim right at the start.
It does. It basically says that designing without research, it's like designing for an imaginary friend. You're just making it up.
An imaginary audience,
Yeah.
and that sounds risky.
Very. No matter how slick your idea seems to you, if it doesn't solve a real problem for real people, it's probably not going to fly.
Okay, so let's break that down. What are the key things proper research helps us nail down? It's more than just like age and location, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's about who they really are. What's their day like? What are they trying to achieve? What's the context?
The environment they're actually in when they might use this thing?
Precisely. And then, what are their real pain points? Not just minor annoyances, but the things that genuinely frustrate them or slow them down.
What keeps them up at night, metaphorically speaking?
Kinda, yeah. And, crucially, how are they dealing with those problems now? Are they using workarounds, clunky spreadsheets, just ignoring it?
Understanding that baseline is key, I guess.
It's huge. It shows you what they're already doing and what they might expect from something better. And that leads to the last point. What are their expectations for a solution? What does better even look like to them?
It's pretty sobering to think how often this gets skipped. The guide uses this great phrase, lipstick on a broken process.
Yeah. It paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really does. You can have the most beautiful app, the slickest interface.
But if the underlying thing it does, the core value, doesn't actually solve a problem people care about or solves it badly, now the lipstick doesn't help.
It's just window dressing on something fundamentally flawed.
Exactly. And the source hints at, big name failures
Yeah.
where, looking back, it's obvious they just didn't understand the user's world, didn't do this groundwork.
A painful lesson to learn. Okay, so we're sold on the why. How do we actually do this research? Our guide seems to split it into categories.
It does. Two main types. First up is primary research.
Right, this is where you're collecting data yourself, yeah.
Exactly. Talking directly to people.
Mhm.
So things like user interviews, which are like one-on-one deep dives.
Okay.
Then you've got surveys, good for reaching more people, getting some numbers, but also maybe some open-ended thoughts.
Quantitative and qualitative sort of mixed.
Can be, yeah. And usability tests, watching people actually try to use your product or a prototype, seeing where they stumble.
Okay, so that's all direct collection. What's the other type?
That's secondary research.
Yeah.
This is where you're using data that already exists, stuff someone else collected or maybe data your own company already has.
Like what kind of existing data is useful?
Oh, tons, potentially.
Hmm.
Think about support tickets or chat logs. Goldmine for pain points.
Ah, yeah, where people are actively complaining.
Exactly. Or user reviews on app stores, review sites, wherever. What do people love? What do they hate?
Good point. Analytics, too.
Definitely. Product analytics show you what people do in your product, which isn't always what they say they do. And don't forget looking at your competitors. What are they doing? What are their users saying?
It feels like you need a mix of both primary and secondary.
Ideally, yes. They complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
Primary gives you the why, the deep context. Secondary gives you scale, trends, maybe validation.
And the guide specifically mentions interviews for early discovery.
Yeah, it really emphasizes qualitative stuff, especially interviews early on, because understanding the why behind the behavior is so crucial when you're still figuring out the core problem and solution. Metrics alone don't give you that.
Okay, user interviews. They keep popping up. The guide calls them a power tool, but only if you use them right. So how do we do that?
Well, it's definitely an art. First big thing, ask open-ended questions.
Not just yes, no.
You want stories, details, instead of, was that hard? Try it. Can you walk me through how you did that?
Get them talking. Makes sense.
Second, focus on past behavior, not opinions or future hypotheticals. What did they actually do?
Why is that so important?
Because what people say they'll do or what they think about something in abstract, it often doesn't match reality. Ask about the last time they encountered the problem.
Concrete examples.
Exactly. And maybe the hardest one. Don't pitch your idea during the interview.
Ooh, yeah. Tempting, though.
So tempting. But your job there is to listen and learn about their world, not to sell them on yours. Keep your biases out of it.
Be a sponge, not a salesperson.
Pretty much. And always ask follow-up questions. Dig deeper. Why was that frustrating? Can you tell me more about that part?
That example, can you walk me through the last time you call? That feels really practical.
It's super effective. It grounds the conversation in reality. It avoids vague answers and gets you the specifics you need. It's way better than, a leading question like, wouldn't it be great if...
Right, which just prompts them to agree with you.
Totally. So good questions. Focus on behavior. Shut up about your solution and dig deeper. That's the goal.
Okay, that's super helpful. But what about smaller teams? Maybe you don't have weeks for dozens of interviews. The guide mentions getting value from smaller efforts, too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really important point. There's this myth that you need, huge numbers for research to be valid.
But maybe not, especially early on.
Exactly. The guide suggests you can get incredibly rich insights from talking to just, say, 5 to 7 people, if they're the right people, and you get real context.
Quality over quantity.
Totally. It's about depth. Having meaningful conversations with a few people who truly fit your target profile is way better than shallow surveys with hundreds who don't.
So start small, talk to actual humans, and look for the patterns, even across just a few chats.
That's the idea. And then you need ways to make sense of what you heard. The guide mentions a few techniques.
Right, synthesizing the info.
Yeah. One is affinity mapping. You take all your notes, your observations, maybe write them on sticky notes, and then you start grouping them, finding the themes. Okay, these 3 people all mentioned frustration with scheduling. These 4 talked about lack of communication. You cluster the related ideas.
I can see how that would make themes jump out visually.
It's great for that. Another one is empathy maps.
Okay, what's that?
It's a way to really step into the user's shoes. You map out what they might be thinking, feeling, seeing, hearing, saying, and doing related to the problem area. Helps build that deeper understanding.
Forces you to consider their whole experience.
Exactly. And finally, persona drafts. Taking those patterns and creating representative user archetypes. Not stereotypes, but realistic composites based on your research.
So even with just a few interviews, these tools help you pull out the key takeaways.
For sure. A few deep insights beat a mountain of surface-level data, especially when you're trying to find the right problem to solve.
Okay, makes sense. But then comes the really crucial part, right? Doing something with it. The guide has that line. Research without application is noise.
Yeah, that hits hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All that effort is wasted if it just sits in a report.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make sure research actually drives decisions?
Well, the guide suggests asking some focusing questions, like what was the most common pain point you heard? That points towards priority.
Okay, tackle the biggest fire first.
Kind of. Also, what was the most surprising thing you learned? Sometimes the unexpected insights are the most valuable, the ones that spark real innovation.
Ah, the aha moments.
Exactly. And then critically, how does this specific insight change how we think about this specific feature or design choice? You have to connect the dots explicitly.
Draw that line from finding to feature.
You got it. And to make it visible. Don't let the research live only on your laptop.
Share it with the team.
Yes. Use shared tools, FigJam, Notion, a whiteboard, whatever. Put up the affinity maps, the empathy maps, the personas. Keep it front and center so everyone absorbs it.
So it becomes part of the team's shared understanding.
Precisely. That's how it influences decisions naturally over time.
This really paints a picture of research not as a single step, but as like a continuous loop. Foundational.
That's absolutely the message. It's not a one-off task you check off a list. It's ongoing. It underpins everything else.
And the payoff is that the later stages, ideation, design, deciding what to build next, become smoother, more effective.
Significantly. Because you're working from a place of real understanding, not just assumptions. You're solving the right problems.
And the risk of not doing it. Well, it's building that beautiful product nobody actually needs.
Which is, a huge waste of effort, time, and money. You polish and polish something that's fundamentally aimed at the wrong target.
A scary thought. This has been really clarifying. So for everyone listening, now that you've heard about digging into what users really need, what's maybe one assumption you hold about your users, or even about a product you use daily that might be worth challenging? Something to chew on.
Good question.
Yeah.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.